I didn't know how these flowers were gonna look. I went on a walk today and gathered some beautiful flowers. Yeah, this is like the dragon flower is what I call it. It's like a passion flower, but isn't she beautiful? She's shrunk a little bit since I got her home, but yeah, some beautiful flowers on the path today. Little galactic flowers. And I got my Master Atlantis crystal chilling over here, which was throwing out some white tiger vibes on one of my calls last week. So welcome to another day, another Unite the 144 tribe. I'm Phoenix, I'm kin number 144, yellow magnetic seed in the galactic Maya dream spell, which is why I've named this this gathering Unite the 144, because that's my job, to unite the tribe. And so one of the things I love to do is decode people's galactic kins and work in the gene keys and the human design and astrology, and yeah, put together the star maps of our design. I would say like our galactic mission before we came here, which is first and foremost a frequency mission. It's not so much about like the character that does this or that or builds this business, or it's about the frequency. And once you get in tuned, once you tune your body like a tuning fork, attuned to your mission, that's when the ideas and really just synchronicity comes through. There's no force in this field, except it is a force field without force. And so that's as we make this shift from the masculine ways that we grew up, it's like fake it till you make it work, make it happen, do it, pound to the pavement. It's like those are all the things that we were taught. I still see it on like Nike t-shirts every once in a while, and I'm like, I mean, I definitely did that, and got my t-shirt, and then I was initiated into the soft side of surrender, the feminine essence of myself that I didn't know existed, that I had kind of abandoned in my hardworking days. And yeah, just trusting and allowing flow and magnetism, things to come to me. And one of those things, as I started to surrender, was the gene keys. And today's topic actually is about gene key 30, which is the celestial fire, but it's also called the rapture. And so, there's like a lot of references to the word rapture, a lot of ideas of what the rapture could be or what it could look like. But I'm here to bring it into grounded principles. I mean, well, don't count on me to be too grounded or anything like that, because that's not my that's not my job. But I am here to bridge the worlds. I am here to assist in activating the multidimensionality. I am here as a guide on the ascension path, that's been on this path, was initiated into this path through my own near death in 2016. Didn't yet have the context to put into words what I would go through. But eventually it led me to some tools. And one of them was looking at my birthday and seeing what kind of information was told to me in those tools, and also taking it all lightly, not taking it too serious, just really starting to learn about myself, be open-minded, expand myself to other levels and other communications and ways of thinking. It wasn't that long ago that I pulled my astrology for the first time. And there's so much to dive into when you pull your astrology, right? It's like there's the 12-month and there's the Vedic and it's a 12 and the 13. Is it this? Is it that? It's not that. It's true sky. It's all of it. It's all of it. And so I always say we're coming from the galactic 0 point here in Costa Rica. I'm in Costa Rica, 9 degrees above the equator, and what I like to call the galactic 0 point. And this is what my Gene Keys book looks like, just to give you an idea. I've spent a lot of time in this thing, and not in your normal ways of individual study about just myself. I really feel privileged to have been able to dive into the scripts of prophecy, like planetary awakening systems and shifts and prophecies that were written in these codes. And so I could almost immediately start to see the bigger picture of how the Gene Keys was here to assist with planetary liberation and certainly individual liberation. But of course, like, it didn't take me long to go from individual interest to collective minded. It was just like a flip of a switch that I went through that eye of the needle and started seeing the bigger picture of like the greater good for all. Versus just for myself and my tribe and my family. Bigger picture, zoom out. Oh, everyone's my family. Okay, what's that look like? And so that's been a lot of my journey over the last, I found the Gene Keys. I moved to Costa Rica in June 2018, and I probably found the Gene Keys around September 2018. So that means almost 8 years ago. And so I'm kind of weaving in human design as well, because when I found human design first, somebody had introduced me to that. I paid to have this session. It was like a quick hour, like basic masculine, and I learned so much in that short time. But I just remember seeing that she was on this website and it said, free report or whatever. And I was like, wow, I'm paying $300 for this 1 hour reading, and I can get this report for free online. Now, human design's a little trickier than Gene Keys, I would say. So like, you could pull a chart of human design and be like, but eventually, like back then, now when I pull someone's human design, it's like, you see these numbers have a meaning. You're able to put things together. You're able to put puzzle pieces together. You're able to read the code. And so that's really been part of my journey and experiencing, well, since my near death, it initiated me into seeing number and seeing the fabric of number behind our reality, the numerical codes behind the reality that we live in, the consistent framework, I guess you could say, a language that's here to be learned for those that are ready. And I offer readings for anybody that wants to do that. That anyone wants to dive in their chart, or even if you already know your chart and you know a lot about it, I usually come at it from a galactic perspective. I like to put patterns together. It's one of my main gifts, I would say, and pull it into more of a collective field frequency. So you get to do as much as you want with the Gene Keys. Once you open up that gate, you can go get a free profile online. You can order the book online, and you can get the audio book. You can dive right in at your pace. And for some, they're like, okay, it's too much to drink at once. Like, I'll take some sips. And then for other people, they're like, at least for me, I was like, give it to me. I want it all. And so I literally just, the writer of the Gene Keys, Richard Rudd, he would say, like, study one Gene Key a month or something, and like sit with that Gene Key and be with it and contemplate it. And I'm like 3 in a day. And maybe a little bit of a super speed quantum galactic computer going on. But yeah, it was a big activation for me. So in my Gene Keys, I carry gene key 30.4 in my purpose, which I would also call my Sirius Earth calculation. But gene key 30 just switched in the nodes. It was gene key 55. The north node was gene key 55, which is the freedom activation, the freedom prophecy. And the other day I was just pulling up the transits to kind of see like what's going on in the tropical transits. I believe in both. I can't say it's just one or the other. We're transitioning in this world. So I look at the 12 and I look at the 13. And so anyways, I pull up the human design transits and I'm like, oh my God, the nodes just shifted to the 30, which is an Aquarian code. My dad has this code three times. I have it, my partner has it, and we usually come into contact with a lot of people that carry this code. That's something fascinating that I've been learning about since pulling so many people's charts is patterns. You know, the patterns of who magnetizes to you, the patterns of like, I could do a session with someone today and then 2 days from now and like, they're the same sequences or there's patterns in the numbers and I can see more of the collective field of like what we're working with in the genetic space. Because I see genetics as collective and holographic as well. I know that our physical minds and our logical, rational, scientific minds think of things so physical and logical, but DNA to me is an etheric calculation. It is more holographic in nature. This is not something that needs, you don't need to go in and manipulate it in science, with a nip and a tuck and cut the genes. And I know they're doing all that CRISPR's gene editing and all of that, but we don't need to get into all of that. We don't need hospitals. We don't need formula. We don't need research on this stuff. Like you are your own research. Actually, if you're not researching yourself, someone else is researching you. So I kind of joke around sometimes that the hospitals to me, like when people talk about the idea of being abducted by aliens, a lot of people talk about like gray aliens and the idea of like being abducted and pulled up in a ship and you're like on a hospital bed and fluorescent lights and they're doing all the little nips and tucks. And I'm like, basically the hospital is the UFO. It's like you're bound to go, if you go in there, you're bound to get experimented on. You're even consenting to being experimented on. You don't know what's wrong and they don't know what's wrong. And they will find out. They might even misdiagnose you with something you don't even have and put you on a bunch of medications. I mean, I don't know. I know sometimes when I talk about this stuff, it gets a little offensive for people because they're like, but the hospital saved my life. And I'm like, I understand there's a time and a place. I do. I also understand that there's a whole nother world going on in there that we might not understand, And when you think about the black market of anything and how people will sell out for, now adrenochrome is not a new word anymore, but you think of the black market and organ harvesting and plasma and blood, and it's like, yeah, you just never know. It's important for us to be responsible for taking care of our body. And when we take care of our body, our physical body, we're also taking care of the mother, we're taking care of the earth. Because the earth is our body as well. And you can tell that the earth in general is being abandoned and hasn't really been taken care of, right? Because we've been disconnected from ourselves and from the earth. And even the crazy amounts of cancers and diseases and things that are being diagnosed and coming up with. And there's like a new name of a diagnosis of all kinds of shit I've never heard of. Like every day there's a new thing, it's like, I'm not looking to get labeled or diagnosed by someone that's not living in a fully harmonious physical vessel, if that makes sense. Like I'm looking for vibrancy, I'm looking for vitality, I'm looking for energy, I'm looking for health, right? And so sometimes people have like a white jacket on and a name tag, and a doctorate of some sort, you know, and they're the one we can trust, but they have a very limited framework about the body and health, and certainly limited around the spiritual aspects of how we're here and how we're designed to awaken, mutate. You know, in human design, there's the premise of there being a mutation of the solar plexus in 2027. I first heard about that when I found human design about 8 years ago. And I mean, it sounded a little foreign, odd, and crazy in the beginning, but now I understand. I've basically been boots on the ground in that process. And so I live to tell, what does it look like? My design is actually, as an individual contributor, to go first. As the cross of contagion, we're here to go through and experience that mutation. I only have one gate in my solar plexus, which is this 30 code. And this 30, this celestial fire to burn all desire, the Rapture code, is connected to the physiology of the solar plexus digestion. It's the only code that references digestion. And so there's another code, the 40, that's connected to the stomach. You know, there's certain codes that are like, it seems to be they're connected to the solar plexus region. The whole idea is that the stomach is becoming our future brain, right? But see, when we have been scarfing down food for so long that we don't even know what it feels like if we don't scarf down food. You know, we've gotten pretty comfortable with just eating, filling the body. Like, honestly, we don't even know what's in most of the things that we're putting in our body. I'm saying not me. I do know. I pay close attention. It's taken me a long time, you know, over years to go through this purification. And purification is on all levels, right? It's mental, spiritual, physical. But for some reason, I'm being brought to the food the most, because we just really don't realize how much we're being controlled by food. And these aren't comfortable conversations, you know, because we all have to look at it. We all have to pay attention to it. Not many are winning in this game. And I observe a lot of what's going on out there. There's like a lot of people that eat this way or eat that way, and it can become and feel like annoying or even extreme. And so I don't want to be putting off about perspectives. But I will say that you know, to start to open your mind, to start to open your heart, to start to become more aware of if you are being called to step it up in the level of purification, right? Because no one can force you to do this. You know, a lot of times people want to start something, they're like motivated to make changes or improve themselves or things like that. But if you don't have something you're shooting for, if you don't have a motivation in it, it's not as easy to stick with it. And so food is the biggest battle, and it's so public and it's so out there, and yet it's so secret. And we're all falling for it. And it's very helpful that I live in the middle of nowhere. And so it's pretty rare that I ever, you know, walk into a store. I mainly just go to a market on Wednesdays where I get fresh fruits and vegetables. Like, I've really been talking about food with no barcodes. Like, imagine that, right? Food with no barcodes. What does that look like for you? You know, what does food with no barcodes look like for you? How does that impact how many things are you purchasing and eating with a barcode? That's just one really simple way to look at what you're buying, how you're sourcing it, all of the things. So yeah, I'm going to go into the codon ring of purification and ultimately how it is the gateway to unlock the 7 sacred seals, which is something I'm very passionate about. I think in 7 sacred seals, it's what connects me with that. This is what I like about the gene keys. It's kind of interchangeable with, especially Revelations. It's like picks up where Revelations left off a little bit, except in the gene keys, Richard Red refers to the Christ as a myth. In some ways, it's very multidimensional and open to many backgrounds, as it should be. There's so much strictness around the Christian beliefs of like only following the scriptures of a book that is full of satanic rituals and blood sacrifice all through it. It's missing some parts and pieces, especially honoring the feminine. We see where the Bible's got us. It's been around for a while, and it's like the #1 selling book, right? And there's a church on every corner. And so whatever is going on in the current religious system that has been written and preached, this is where it's got us. We've got a planet full of greed, pedophiles, drug addiction, sex addiction, food addiction, government addiction, political addiction. Oh, yeah, it's a lot to unpack. Anyways, the whole point is do what you can when you can. Make a difference where you can make a difference. Listen to your body. There are likely things that your body's been telling you. Pain in your body and discomfort in your body and disease in your body is not a mystery. That is not an easy one for people to digest. But this is how it works. Form follows frequency, as within, so without. You got to look at all the angles. If your body is reporting back to you of any sort, that you're having any kind of difficulty or situations, you've got to go back in there. You got to go back inside. Where is the repressed emotion? Where is the repressed trauma? Where are my patterns, behaviors? How can I unfold this? Let me go deeper into this. Let me pull back the layers on what drives my thoughts, what drives my frequencies, what drives my patterns and my behaviors. That's you kind of getting in the driver's seat, so to speak. And I still believe in becoming the observer of yourself so that you can see what pulls you here or there. And ultimately, that's the shadow of the 30. It's desire. And desire is not necessarily a bad thing. Desire can kind of show you where you're going. It doesn't mean you have to act on every impulse. Now, of course, the word desire can also bring you into your sexual appetite, your sexual desires. It could be material desires. So there are many measurements of desire. We all have different things that we desire, and we really ask, where do those things come from, and is it something that I need to serve or not? So being in this experiment, you could say, or on this path, what I've really learned about the rapture is, it isn't just like disappearing in the sky, right? It is the purification of the lower astral body. And so if you're not familiar with the astral body or the idea of astral is used in many different ways, but I started to come into contact with the idea of this lower astral body. When they talk about, in this Rudolf Steiner teaching I was listening to one time about Sophia, he was saying that basically Sophia didn't have a lower astral body. And what I see the rapture as is the purification of the lower astral body, which is ultimately an initiation through the gates of purification, bringing you into the Buddhic body. So there's many different like teachings or ideas of things woven together. I'm usually just the one to bring through the transmissions. And then, when people are ready, that's one of the things I like to do too, is decode your sacred seals and your core wound, because there's a particular calculation in the gene keys connected to your core wound. But I see the 7 sacred seals as where we're going on many levels to assist humanity in the purification process and unlocking the seals. And it really is like a continuation from Revelations, which talks about the 7 sacred seals and the 144,000. So these texts put a little more detail to it, a process to it, an invitation to it. And that's what I love about the gene keys, even though you can do group things, or sometimes they have like studies, and then there's a lot of people that offer sessions and things like that. And I love to do things where people come and visit and we just dive in and read codes and like, write out your charts and do the stuff, eat clean, get down in there, maybe work in the plant fields, and just open up the gates of purification together. So I do a lot of that online or in person for anyone that's ever feeling that wild call to come to Costa Rica. Message me and we can talk about what it would look like. And then also on the phone, like I just had someone reach out to me after my last video, really looking for my help and assisting her in making the right changes and choices with her body and the way that she's eating and taking care of herself as the Mother Earth. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I do sessions, I read codes and things like that, but I do so much more than that. I can really help in many ways. I'm just here as a mirror for you, as a guide that really has been in the cave, reflecting, and really has been hermiting and studying. And I, in all humility, say I carry wisdom and knowledge from many lifetimes into this lifetime, and I'm here to assist with rejuvenation, vitality, immortality, eternal life, embodiment, authenticity. These are just a few of my favorite things. Get you real as fuck and healthy as fuck. Yeah. It's not the medical system that's going to save the day. It's not a med bed. It's you remembering that you're the one here to save yourself. And so we can like hope and pray that these ideas and these fascinations, these fantasies are going to come to save the day. Like you can just go lay in a machine and you're going to like heal yourself or something. You got to get to know yourself on all levels. You got to be responsible for this starship. That's the initiation, actually, is like either you're being controlled or you're the one plugging in the codes of your starship, or someone else is. And so I'm very passionate about that, taking care of yourself. I'm not saying that it's not nice to have a little fun every once in a while. I'm not trying to be so extreme with things. I understand how things can get too out of hand sometimes when we go too far one way. And but I do believe in balance. And so I know we've got to go baby steps wherever you are. But like one of the things that can be a first step is if you're still eating meat, try cutting that out 3 days a week. Try cutting that out 4 days a week, or however many days. Like if you're doing it every day versus a few days, work with yourself. Test yourself. Allow yourself to get more creative with your food choices. If the meat's not there, what can you replace it with? And I mean, to me, the whole paradigm of food pyramids and protein and all of it is just a sheer lie. We're all much larger than we're supposed to be. That is something we have to look at. Our body keeps the score. I think there's a book by Gabor Mate about that. Our body keeps the score. The body doesn't lie, right? And so we've got to take care of it. This is empowerment. This is responsibility. This is the invitation to take care of yourself. And I even find the kids are having a wild time outside. We got some wild ones today. I don't remember what I was saying, but okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is out of my 7 Sacred Seals book. Okay, this is a part of the Gene Keys. Richard Rudd says there will be future mystery schools of the 7 seals. Like, basically, I'm just living the mystery. Like they're doing a lot with the sage retreats right now. Like they're doing sage groups and sessions and things like that. And it was like, I never did become a, what do you call that, ambassador with the Gene Keys. I'd already left behind like the bank systems and online accounts and telephones for a while. And so, eventually, yeah, I basically just unplugged. Sorry, there was someone like in front of my house and I was trying to figure out who it was. I dove deep into the cave of myself and of the books and of the text. Like pretty much, this is, I'm going to give you an idea of what my space looks like. This is one of my spaces, but I always have books and papers everywhere. I don't know if you can see it, but usually I always sit on the floor. I don't sit in chairs. I don't sit on couches. Did I say shit or sit? Yeah, I actually pretty much stay seated like this all day. A lot of my calls I have like my legs sitting like this and I'm like this on the ground, where my cerebral spinal fluid is flowing straight up the back. I know a lot of people maybe can't even move themselves in this position and they probably have body aches and pains. Usually the first step is when people come to visit me. We sit on the floor, we eat on the floor, everything. I forget how far away we are from civilization. Like we've kind of returned to what you might call primitive ways in so many ways. Not wearing shoes and sitting on the floor and yeah, it's just funny how returning to source does that. But yeah, getting people, that tends to be something usually when people come to visit, it's like they'll come and hang and sit on the floor with me for a little bit, but their body gets a little uncomfortable. And so, of course, are you taking care of your body? Are you doing yoga? Like to me, I don't practice any kind of technique or yoga or breath work or anything. The whole life is that. The whole life is the yoga. The whole life is the tantra. Every single day is the flow. And I know that a lot of our lifestyles don't allow us to live in those sorts of ways. But I will tell you that when I am seeing the world from afar, because I understand I'm not in the United States or around the world where there's a lot of busyness and traffic. And I reference the United States because that's where I came from. That's where I was born. But I mean, all over the world in the cities with the work and the jobs and the driving and the things like that, where, yeah, when I hear about people's nervous systems, for example, being shot, and the pain in their body and the chronic pain and the stress. And of course, you're stressed, because these lifestyles aren't for any of us. They really aren't. And it's quite unfortunate that the way the system is set up, it's not really set up for you to win. And it's all a gamble. It's like a full-on casino. The whole world is like a casino. It's just a gambling, take a shot. And that's why people take shots, because you can't keep up. The feedback that I'm receiving overall from the people out in the field it's not so easy to sustain this life. Not physically, the body's in pain, the body's stressed. the nervous system shot. You know, the kids are getting sick. And, you know, I just saw somebody post something about what's being put in the school lunches and how it's basically all like fake plastic. It's not like we don't know this. And I know some people got the memo and they can afford, let's say that, you know, that they can actually afford to send their child with a packed lunch. But for the most part, you know, this is what our children have access to, and vending machines with sodas and chips. And so I have compassion. I know it's not easy. But if you hear my voice only every once in a while where you're sitting there trying to decide, are you gonna get this or that? And you hear me go, food with no barcodes, food with no barcodes, you know, pick up that avocado or that mango instead of that bag of chips. You know, everything in moderation. I'll tell you, um, I haven't eaten meat in many years now. You know, I lived in Texas. It was like brisket and barbecue and sausage and chicken and all of it, you know? And I mean, I'd known a few people that didn't eat meat, and I thought it was weird. And I was like, okay, sorry for you. You know, I just, whatever I thought about it, it took me a long time to, I never ever would have thought, in fact, that I would become a vegetarian. I remember one time I just finished a CrossFit workout and I was like rolling out my thighs after some hard thrusters. And I was like, I could never be a vegetarian. And I'm like eating 250 grams of protein a day, some of it in shakes and things like that. But it's just like meat, meat, meat. And everyone's like, I'm eating meat and I'm feeling so much energy. Yeah, it's like adrenochrome, basically. But, you know, to each his own. There's zero judgment here. It's just the reality. Like, we can get too extreme sometimes where, like, I get that we're here like for protecting nature and animals. Absolutely. I do see animals as the same as me. I just do. And I understand, like, sometimes vegans can be more aggressive to humans. They're like protecting animals, but they're like shitty to humans. And it's like, okay, where's the balance, right? Everything's about balance. My whole point is to say that I didn't, yeah, I said I couldn't imagine not eating meat. And then probably in the next few weeks, I just couldn't. You know, it was like something flipped. I walked into my HEB grocery store and Round Rock, and I just saw all the dead carcasses hanging out. And for the first time I was like, oh my God, how have I been so desensitized to all this slaughtered meat? Just like any way you want it, like as much as, and now there's like, I don't know, machine AI meat. I don't fucking know what's going on out there. It's a little crazy for sure. So, you know, it wasn't until I saw a documentary that was talking a little more about the idea of energy and that everything carries energy. That's a basic for me now, but I remember that those were like those fundamental principles that started to help me awaken to the deeper truth about what we're putting in our body, you know, and living foods and colors of the rainbow. And I'm having these conversations with River as she's a little bit interacting with others, and you know, and they might still eat food with barcodes and things like that, and sweets and sugars. And it's not easy to say no sometimes. You know, it's not easy to say no to your children when they want something. Like the other day, we went to go get fruits at the fruit stand, and there was this little like thing of ice creams with all these little colors and whatever. And River wanted one of these, and I was like, absolutely not. And she was crying in the middle of the store, and we don't even go to a store very often. I was like, oh my God, I could feel myself getting all irritated and everything. Yeah, kudos to all the moms that hold it together all day, every day. I think we all still lose it every once in a while, right? And so, you know, for River, I don't give her things like that. maybe she's had an ice cream from the store like a couple times, usually because Eduardo let her, not me. And, I've had to tell him, I was like, I want to protect our child, truly, on all levels. I'm all about protecting children. And the biggest ways we can protect our children right now, truly, is about the foods that they're eating, and it's about the technology that they're eating. And they are eating it, they are digesting this technology. And this is not something I'm going to let up on. The importance of paying attention to what's going on multiple levels, because this technology is so invasive. And I know people will be like, AI is neutral. I'm like, there are fucking aliens behind the scene, AI, alien invasion, that are ready to rape your child's mind at any given moment through technology on all levels. It is a heartless technology. It is draining children. I see children walking around sometimes, they look totally white and pale, like they're missing their soul. I can sense that, I can really sense and feel. You can tell very much who's turning zombie or not. And the other day, I was on a call and River talked Eduardo into watching a show. She can't talk me into stuff, but she can talk him into stuff. Now, she pretty much just plays in the wild most of the day, right? So it's a pretty rare occasion. I could literally, when it was all said and done, I could see it in her eyes that there was like an energy that is transferred from this technology. There isn't a parent that can deny the truth of this with your children and with yourself. And so that's why it's so important that we speak on these topics and we be a little more aware. I always feel like we're in a galactic battle with the dark side sometimes. And it's like, how do you win the battle? Well, you take care of yourself first. Every time I don't feed the Vatican, the Roma pasta, every time I don't consent to the technology, if I don't believe in it, if I know what it's doing, but then I still do it anyways. So these are really like responsible initiatives that I'm being called into. I thought I'd already cleaned up my life on so many levels. A few weeks ago, I buried my sacred bamboo pipe and put down my occasional organic tobacco puff. And yeah, and I had to digest and like let go of that. And then I let go of coffee about 2 weeks ago. I've just been drinking a lot of like simple teas and things like that. And really realizing like, you don't need that stuff. And ultimately, we want to clean and clear our entire body. So I didn't know, I'm always thinking so much in the non-physical field, but right now I'm talking physical because it is about the body and it is about taking care of it and loving yourself. And yesterday I realized, like, as I'm saying this to you, I was like, wow, my skin is a little dry. And I was thinking, I haven't been taking care of myself. Like, I need to put some cream on my body, some rose cream, and like massage my body, and like make sure I still remember I got her and take care of her and be grateful for having a body. You chose to come here. You chose your body. Take care of it, love it. At any given moment, you can make a change just like that. It really is like a death and a rebirth at any given moment. The Christ says, I die daily. To me, that is it. That is the resurrection. It's like every night I go to bed, I die and I wake up reborn, renewed. And so that's the way. It's really that simple. And so to die, I say, to the lower nature desires. And so this purification also has to do with like, I'm also getting to talk about like the mental, purification of your mind, purification of your thoughts, your patterns. I always say entities are just thought forms, right? And so you can start to think about like particular thoughts that come into your mind, which could also be desires. And you can be like, where did that thought come from? Whose thought is that? Whose desire is that? Is that my desire? Where did that come from? Am I being operated through, or am I operating my system? Right? So becoming more aware about who is feeding your vessel, treating your vessel, taking care of your vessel, your body as a vessel. All right, so what I want to read to you in the 7 sacred seals is about the ring of purification. These are called codon rings. The ring of purification, which is going to connect gene key 30 and the 13. It says, if you wish to work with the 7 sacred seals in your life, you will need a fierce inner commitment. So yeah, you can't just go in and be like, I'm going to open up the 7 seals without having some kind of commitment or devotion. And that's gene key 29, which is my radiance. It's the programming partner of the 30. You have to have a level of commitment and devotion to this. It has to be something inner, an inner motivation to really make that next level step, to not be making excuses and fall back into the old patterns. It may take many months of inner preparation before you receive signs you're making progress. However, if your yearning is deep and sincere, a sustained effort will inevitably lead to a breakthrough. In the Gene Keys teachings, the secret of inner purification is guarded in the codon rings, and in particular by the ring of purification, which is a genetic grouping in human DNA that links together the 13th gene key and the 30th gene key. And so basically, this is the gateway right here of the 30 and the 13 and the 30. All right, and the 13 is empathy, moving from discord to discernment to empathy. This is moving from desire to lightness to rapture. So we're looking at the 13 and the 30. When you look at the shadow of these 2 gene keys, you will see the key to any serious course of purification. When we talk here of purification, we're really talking about bringing about an upsurge in awareness around those patterns inside us that keep us at a low frequency, right? So that's what we're here to purify. Whatever our patterns are, and you're the one that knows what those are. You're the one that knows what patterns you still have. And I was thinking the other day, there's this old, like, I don't know, maybe it's like an Indian proverb teaching or something, and it talks about like there's 2 different wolves, they're both inside you, and the one that comes out is the one that you feed, right? Like there's kind of like a positive and a negative, or a good and a bad, or something like that. But it's like basically they're both inside you, and it's about whichever one you feed. In any given moment, you are feeding your light body, or what I call the black snake, because we're here to purge the black snake in the purification of the lower astral. And yeah, you get to decide at any given moment. Like, for example, when somebody starts to go on like a fast or a purification, and that's something that's really nice to do, even if it's just like a 3-day, it's great to do 5. But even if you can just go 3 days, you'd be surprised. Like you can get over this hump and start to realize, oh my God, I actually have more energy and some of my cravings are gone. And then, oh, I know what my body feels like now without food. I'm not putting in the sludge anymore. So I can get a better idea. I can get a restart, right? But you also start to starve the parasites. And you can hear, like, even for example, like when a craving pops up in your head, like, I want a cheeseburger, I want a pizza, I want a blah, 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 whatever the thing is that you like. If you were to be like, is that really you talking? Or who is living in your vessel that wants you to feed it? You know, when you start to see it like that, I say the same thing with pornography addiction or any other addiction. It's like there's an entity that's like taken up house in your body that's like, feed me, I want this, I want that. And you're just giving it whatever it wants. Like there's a time where you got to be like, no. And that's when you start to win. And it's not easy. And then once you say no, you got to do it again and you got to do it again. And this is with any addiction or any pattern or any habit. You know, it takes time, and it does take commitment and devotion. You got to want something more than the comfort that you're in, right? And so we get a little comfortable, we make our habits. It's not so easy. It's just easy to be there, but you know, this is the choice points of life or death. That's what I call it. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself and be an example for your family and be an example for your future. You can miraculously heal anything. You really can. Epigenetics and just like the power of your mind, shadow work, meditation, exercise. And exercise is still the least of it, but the whole reason exercise works, besides like pumping your blood and getting you active and getting you connected to your body and getting the juices flowing and getting your breath and all of that, it's like, it means you're not sitting around on your phone. You know, because damn, we can't deny how much the phone is like sucking everybody's energy away. It's not easy to say no to. And I feel privileged to feel that I'm a little further away from the tech. But it's a tricky thing, you know. We'll try to justify it all the time, like the food, the tech, the drugs. It's like there's this comfort justification that comes in that keeps us on the comfort zone path. I mean, including myself. I'm like, I've done enough work. I don't need to give it all up. You know, I'll sit here and have my little coffee and my smoke kind of thing. But then it was like, how do we get ourselves out of the lower astral plane? This is one of the ways. It's a purification. Someone's got to go first. And so we're definitely just exploring with that. What does it look like to clean your body? What does it look like to eat less? What is it like to eat? What is it like to eat clean? What is it like to cut meat out? What is it like to have more fruits and vegetables, more living foods, more colors? Now, I want to tell you something. I've had a lot of people, I'm not sitting here telling you, go vegetarian, go veg. You got to do what's right for you, or else I'm like trying to be your boss, and I don't want to do that. Like, you got to do what's right for you, but I purify thyself, you know? And it's like, I want to be so careful not to be dogmatic about things, but everyone's on the like cleaning of the parasites craze right now. But if you're still eating a ton of meat, you're probably still putting it right back in, not to mention the flow. Like, some people aren't going to the bathroom every single day and have issues with constipation. And yeah, there's a lot that we're putting in our body that I can't believe our bodies can still keep up and stay alive as long as they can, with all of the poisons, the inner and the outer poisons. So this is the radical invitation. This is the radical initiation for those that are really interested in the eternal life codes. That it's not going to happen by a med bed. You're the med bed. You know, you are the med bed. It's deep, it's responsible, and it's very empowering. And these days, in a world where everybody just wants to sell everything, it's like, I'm not here to sell anything except take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. You're the one with the keys. You're the ones with the codes. You can do it. I'm not saying that there might not need to be a cheerleader there or a guide to help you out. You know, the person that reached out to me yesterday asked me if I could be there for her over the course of some time while she's going through this transition. And I told her it would be my honor. And I had her write out a letter of like, what are you doing this for? What are you doing this for? So I know, and so you know. And so that if and when it ever gets hard, that we can go back to that. And we're doing it in baby steps. I mean, I'd love to just start everybody right off with like, boom, fast. But I know that's not always easy for everybody with the way that we live lifestyles. And so that leads me back to, I've heard of people be like, I went vegetarian and my health went down, or all of these different things. What I would say is that this is just my personal opinion about it. You have to find ways to enrich yourself in other ways when you're going through this process. And I also find that a lot of people go vegan or vegetarian and they're just still eating a bunch of bullshit. It's not about clean living foods. It's like, okay, Doritos are vegan, but I mean, yeah. I knew a friend in Austin. She told me her brother worked for like the chemical company for Doritos. And literally, like, they created the chemical that they drop in Doritos that makes you go, this fucking tastes good, And it's just like, yeah, everything is chemical. There's chemicals in everything. It's so crazy. That's why I'm like, don't knock the idea of exploring chemical psychedelics, for an example. It's like people are like, put that in a different category, like it's a drug, when the foods and the pharmaceuticals aren't drugs. If you're already taking chemicals on many levels, or spraying, perfumes, or chemicals in foods and sugars and things like that, what could it hurt to consider a mind-altering substance that could help you see or break through the veil of your addictions that you couldn't see before? There are powerful and safe ways to work responsibly with mind-altering substances, with psychedelics. They're not as scary as they seem, and they can also be empowering on the purification journey. And so everything is at your own risk, but it's like, it's crazy how we'd be afraid of a mushroom, for an example, but not afraid of a cheeseburger with bacon and a Coca-Cola. I don't know why I keep going back to that example. I mean, maybe that used to be one of my things I would eat. I don't know. But yeah, so this is just an invitation for purification on all levels. Treat your body, a fast or even a meat fast, like no meat and just 5 days of just colors, and then like sequence it out with maybe a certain portion of raw food versus cooked food. Yeah, and yeah, who would have known I was getting into the detox vibe? I thought I was going to get all into the esoterics part, but I'm feeling how important this is. The other thing about the codon ring of purification has to do with eliminating waste. So it has to do with your body's ability to eliminate waste, to let go, to poop, to let your shit out, to loosen up. And so, I have someone I know that's done some 40-day juice fasts and cleanses with some different protocols where people are like shitting out mucoid plaque serpents that are like 9 foot long. Basically, the whole buildup of the black snake that's been in your digestive tract, just kind of sitting there as a house for parasites for years. Kind of like the clogged drain. If you were to put hot oil down the drain, but then it got hard, right? And so we don't really realize how much inflammation we're holding in there, and then ultimately not even receiving actual real nutrition from what we're eating. And then, I mean, that's a whole nother story if you're taking supplements and all of the things like that. I mean, I went from making $500,000 selling supplements to I don't take any supplements at all. And I hardly eat any food. definitely a lot lighter and a lot less than the average person. Some might say I'm considered small, but I feel rather healthy and energized. And I mean, I'm 5'1". I'm not really designed. I'm designed this way, you know. But it's been a process over time, right? And my process wasn't about like I'm gonna do this to lose weight. It was about I'm gonna take care of myself differently. I'm going to experiment with what it would be like to feed myself this, to take care of myself in this way, to go more smoothies and juices and fruits, than processed and packaged foods. And so give yourself grace, be gentle with yourself, but also listen when the call comes. Like you wouldn't make it on this call. We wouldn't be in the same synchronized field if there wasn't some level of destiny within your own soul to have a conversation about something like this, you know. Discipline and devotion versus instant gratification and pleasure and dopamine. It's that, right, Renee? It's like, yeah. I mean, I went through some days where I was like, shit, I can't have a smoke. I can't have a coffee. I'm not going to eat any pasta. Like, what am I even here for? I was just like, and then when I went down to the town to get fruits and everything, I had a temptation. I was like, I want a fucking pizza. And and in that moment, it was like I had already said no to myself. And then River modeled the ice cream thing. She wanted that thing. And I was like, no, I don't want to get that for you. I have many fruits here. I have many options here. Ultimately, we're not feeding ourselves wasn't meant to be. It is a socially, it's crazy when they use the word food porn. It's kind of gross when you think about it. But it's like there is a similar type of short-term orgasmic thing that happens when you eat certain things, like pornography would do, or or a quick hookup or anything like that. So yeah, it's like you being able to in the moment stop something from driving your starship and taking you down a road and doing something. And being able to be like, I'm not gonna fucking do it this time. And then like once you get over the hump, you're like, oh, that feels good. And then you just keep going, step by step, step by step. Let's see, Renee. I was traveling to Austin and it was hard to find healthy food on the go. Burger and fast food places everywhere. Tried to pack my own fruit and snacks. Oh, good job, Renee. And it's like, I don't go to a restaurant often. There really aren't many around me. And honestly, I just don't work with the monetary stuff so much to even allow things like that. And in fact, that's helped me because I don't have the disposable income to just be able to Uber Eats this or that or whatever. But when I would go to a restaurant, I would definitely be like, when in Rome, and I would get a pizza or even a veggie burger or something like that. When usually restaurants do have pretty delicious salads, which can also still be full of a bunch of shit. But yeah, I mean, oh, what is that one place in Austin that I loved it. Juice. I don't know. There's this place in Austin with all the best juices and like vegan burritos with hot sauce. And it was raw too, I think. I just can't think of it, but I love that place. Anyways, yeah, I mean, of course, it's nice to have those things around. And it's hard when you're on the go all the time and you're traveling and the convenience. I mean, just look at it. That's one of the things that helps you make these shifts and make these decisions is when you really see how flashy it all is and how it's everywhere you look. You're like, oh my God, they want to take me down. They want to take me down. I can see there's a little ant on my crystal right here. You know, they want to take me down. That's what I was learning about tobacco. It's like, I was just like, oh, you know, I work with tobacco as a shamanic tool for cleaning energies and, you know, relaxing and all of the things. And then I saw this documentary, and it was basically talking about how tobacco is one of the most addictive substances. And I was like not wanting to admit that I had a little bit of an addiction, because mine isn't the same as like being an all day smoker or something. But it was like, when you really realize the big industries are not about making you healthy, but about keeping you as a customer, they want you returning. It's always about what's the next thing that we can sell. What's the next thing? Okay, coffee is one of the most addictive substances out there. Tobacco is one of the most addictive substances out there. You could even say pharmaceuticals has become an addiction. You don't even know if it's something that you actually need. And you get so used to it that you're afraid to even try to get off of it. Years ago, my grandmother's on quite a spread of medications, but I had become a coach and was really working and helping people in the energy and the weight department and building financial income. And I was helping people lose weight, feel great, more energy, not drinking coffee, but of course replacing it with the thing I was selling, which eventually I didn't want to sell anymore because it had sucralose in it. But I didn't know a lot then, you know, and I could see it as an alternative to get people off regular sugar, but then it's like, go further, go further. Honey is the closest thing I get to sugar at this point. But anyways, yeah, I would help a lot of people lose weight, feel great, gain energy. Um, why was I telling you that? The mangosteens? Look up on the counter a little bit. Do you see any? That might be the only one left. I think it is. I think it's the only one left. But you have tons of mamachinos. Oh, River's getting some fruit for her and her friend. All right, sometimes I get on a little squirrel. All right, so let me jump into this because I know I've been talking about the food a lot. I want to say I'm being so careful with this. I'm not here to bring any kind of shame around it. I'm here to bring awareness and gentleness with yourself and grace with yourself, and not judge yourself, but become aware, to empower you to be responsible, to just pay attention and let your body tell you anyways, right? Your body will tell you. The body keeps the score. Your body will tell you everything. And so you could go to a retreat, you could go through all these practices, you could do all these techniques, you could like trace it all back to an event that happened when you're 7 years old that created trauma. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we just need to shortcut our habits. You know, we just need to be like, in this now moment, I'm going to cut this. I'm not going to go that direction. I'm going to make a new turn. I'm going to make a U-turn. And that's where the changes and the shifts start to happen. And you do that enough, and trust me, you'll get tempted, you know, especially those first few times. It's like, you know, all the, like in that Matrix movie, and there's the girl in the red dress, and it's like, phew. And so it's like, when you make a decision that you're like, I'm going to go level up, I'm going to take a level up, I'm going to take a step up, your things are going to come in your field and be like, and mess with you. Like, are you ready? Are you ready? Which one are you going to feed? Right. And so that is just a part of this game. That is a part of the fun of this game, is being with yourself in the now moment. And you know what? If you ended up getting a cupcake and scarfing it in your car like an animal, like nobody was watching, and then all of a sudden you were done with it and you were like, holy shit, what got into me? You know, it happens. And it happens. But once you become aware of that, you're like, who is that? What is that? How is that? And so yeah, be gentle with yourself in the process. It's not like you got to go balls to the wall tomorrow. But you can start with little processes, little shifts, little changes. And the real deal is that sometimes what we think is healthy isn't actually healthy. You know, like there are things that are marketed as healthy, but it's not necessarily like anything, like again, food with no barcodes. You just never know what's really going on in there. We want to get as natural as possible. We want to get as herbal as possible. We want to get the least fake as possible. The least possible ingredients that could be written down. Like the only thing I still buy with a barcode right now, I still buy rice, I still buy lentils, and I still buy coconut oil, olive oil, and sea salt. And they're single ingredients, you know, it's like ingredient, blah, right? One thing. And so that's what you're looking for. I feel like this is so basic, but also I think that this is an area where even when you do have the knowledge, you just forget sometimes. And you know what I say is like, whatever your favorite things are to eat, just get a bunch of them. Like my favorite thing is avocados. I love avocados so much with a little sprinkle of salt is like my favorite thing. I could probably go without the salt, but I'm still there with it. And you know, just like pick the things that you like and love that are easy to just have around whenever you need a snack to grab it. And your body will thank you for that. And it really tests you on many levels. This is a spiritual journey. And I don't think I ever finished completing the idea of like when people go vegetarian or vegan, but then their body kind of fails them in some way. I think that number one, it's about pure, clean foods. And number two, it's about enriching yourself with other things, you know, enriching the spirit. You know, what is the reason and the purpose you're doing this for? Like, I remember someone I knew in Austin, she wrote a book called The Light Body Diet. I never read it. I'd already moved to Costa Rica by the time she was finished with it. But yeah, the light body diet. And that's what we're looking at. We're looking at, are we feeding our light body? This is the path of ascension. These would be this would be the Christos codes. This would be the Aquarian gospel of the Christ, or a lot of the older original teachings. There are writings about the Cathars, the Essenes, the pure ones, you know, eating more clean, eating more light, not eating at all. This is a wave of where we're going in the future. And I'm from the future, you know, speaking and being patient and gentle with everyone, depending on which rung you are on in the stairway to heaven. I always say there's a stairway to heaven, you know? And so, yeah, if you're feeling the call on this type of journey, and reach out. These are maybe ways that I can assist in some way. And just being there and bringing like the simplicity to keeping things simple is another piece of it. But I believe in you. I know you can do this on your own when and if you feel called, right? You can't force it. And sometimes you do need to prep and prepare yourself for these types of shifts, but they're always worth it. Okay, so purification through the 30th gene key. I'm reading out of my 7 sacred seals. Working with the 30th gene key is a very private and internal process. It is the basis of all teachings that come under the label of Tantra. Tantra refers to the gradual sublimation of our desire nature. And this 30th gene key has at its lower frequency the shadow of desire. So we're talking about the gradual sublimation of our desire nature. For example, it's that thing that could all of a sudden like desire a cupcake and like scarf it down in 1 second and not even realize you did it and be like, whoa, you know, like Incredible Hulk got through there or something like that, you know, where you didn't have the ability to stop something or slow something down, or to be able to be like, no, I don't need to act on this, right? So we're not judging the desire, we're observing it, we're witnessing it, And we're also choosing that we don't have to act on it. We can utilize desire to go inside of ourselves and start to investigate what is the root of that? Where's that really coming from? A lot of it's parasites. It's that simple. Because parasites will be like, feed me sugar, feed me porn, feed me whatever. And that does help you in the purification process when you start seeing it like that. Then you can start to really realize, like, what am I feeding? Who am I feeding? Why am I feeding? And today's a perfect day to talk about this because it's a full moon, right? And so everything, they say that that parasites, their eggs hatch on full moons. That's why they say people get a little crazy, or like they're hit by the waves of the moon. And also you can just pay attention to the emotional waves. You can pay attention to the cravings, the activities, everything about it. It's a great time to drop some parasite remedies, And so there are many ways to work with cleaning parasites and things like that. I mean, wormwood, black walnut, oregano oil, those are the ones that naturally come to my mind. I'm not a professional in this department. I don't believe that ivermectin is really anything that, it's made from the same Bayer company. Like, I understand that the ivermectin is actually working with the transhuman, like the self-assembling nanoparticles, and it's like eating them or something like that. Is strange. Like, you just don't know, right? Stick to the natural oils and supplements as much as possible in their most original forms, like oils and powders, versus even like pills and things like that, if you can. We're talking get it natural, straight from the earth to the herb, straight from the tree to the fruit. This is the Garden of Eden. This is what we're talking about, right? So it just, as soon as it hits us in the awareness field, then it's like, okay, I'm on this path. Am I devoted? Am I committed? What's it look like? And so the more of us that can come together, this is purging the black serpents. It's winning the game. It's definitely a game worth winning. It has to do with your health. It has to do with your age. It has to do your aging process, the comfort of your body, the pain in your body, the discomforts, all of it. This is so far beyond, like, I'm so sad, and I pray for anyone that is caught in the negativity of body image and insecurity. It's so sad that that implant, that parasite in there that makes you think you're not good enough or not beautiful enough, or that you compare yourself to another person. And so this is the unfortunate part of what technology has done as well. It's made people even more insecure about themselves, and having these ideas of images that are beautiful or not. And like, just the vanity of the physical beauty versus that inner light and that inner beauty. Like having a kind soul. I've seen some beautiful girls out there that are bitches. It's like, I'm not impressed by your external beauty. Show me your heart. Show me your sweetness. Show me your authenticity. I don't have time for superficial games, And so we need more of that. I'm calling in the real ones. I'm calling everybody to be real. I'm calling in any and everybody that holds any kind of superficial anything about themselves, or these idea of different images of themselves when they're around different groups, and like really checking in with, like, where are these insecurities coming from? Where are these comparisons coming from? Where am I keeping these lies alive? All right, so Tantra, 30th key, shadow of desire. It is important here to state that there's nothing wrong with any of the shadow frequencies. They are the touchstones of the higher states. However, if you do not feel ready to sacrifice your lower desires to a higher goal, then this teaching is not suited to you at this time. So see, that's what you got to get real with. And I told my friend that too, that messaged me and wants me to guide her through this process. I was like, you've got to want it, and there is a sacrifice to be made. This is the sacrifice. It's the sacrifice of your lower desires for a higher goal, which is ultimately, this is about the path of ascension. So if you're not ready to sacrifice your lower desires to a higher goal, this teaching's not suited for you. Working with the shadow of desire will take you into some challenging zones of consciousness. Our desire naturally shifts according to the seasons of our lives. Thus, you will need to examine your daily urges and needs in depth and without any self-judgment. So that's the first step. You can write this one down. Examine your daily urges and your needs in depth and without self-judgment. So you're just observing. The important thing is just to see what forces are driving you and how those forces tend to lead to further cycles of hunger and desire. The gift of lightness occurs as you begin to see how deeply you have allowed yourself to become a victim of your desires. Lightness here refers to two new qualities. The first is that as you begin to loosen the hold of your desires, you feel less heavy, both emotionally and mentally. You feel more joyful. The patterns begin to let go on their own, just from you seeing them over and over again. In the early stages, it's painful. But after some time, it almost becomes amusing to watch the soap opera of your desires playing out in your life. The second quality that comes with the gift of lightness is literally that of light. You begin to feel incandescent, as though lit from within. This is because every desire you have can really be reduced to a single overarching desire, the desire to know your true nature. That's the real desire. Every sexual desire, every food desire, every money desire, the deep down desire within us is to know our own nature. And the sad thing about it is you can't really find that when you're so deeply caught in the material realm. And so these are the initiations, these are the steps. Who's going to go first? Who's going to step out of the hole? Who's going to make that commitment? What do you do when no one's watching? It's yours to do. And because that way, and I learned this in my old leadership company that I worked in, and I helped so many people lose weight and gain energy and build businesses and all of it. People would thank me, and I was like, I didn't do that. You did that. I didn't make that decision for you. I didn't make that money for you. I didn't make you not eat that or do this. I didn't decide if you worked out or not. You did. And really just celebrating the empowerment of that person. I'm not denying that I might have been an encourager in some way. But the credit goes to you for doing the work. And that way, what's so fun about it? If you achieve, it's yours to own. And if you, quote, fail, it's yours to own. It's all on you. Because it's a choice. We always have a choice. And when we start to strengthen that muscle where we're like, oh, I have choices and I'm choosing this one instead, it gets stronger, it gets stronger, it gets stronger. Whichever one you feed is getting stronger and stronger. And this is where you can start to become invincible and not be so manipulated by all of the finer things that are thrown out. When the Christ fasts in the desert, he's approached by Satan and he's offered the woman, oh, you've been fasting for 40 days, get you some of that. It offers the food, offers the power and the reign over the kingdom. It's the possession. It's the possessions that possess you. So these are just some of my simple reflections on Gene Key 30 and understanding that it is my purpose. One of my jobs has been working with people in the assistance of the purification of their lower astral body, which is basically just holding a mirror for them, you know? And so again, I'm going to say this, I keep extending these invitations. I would love to have, I've done this before where somebody comes in and we just do like simple life immersion. You know, we work with eating clean, we prep all the things, and we just have a great time. Basically, you come into the lifestyle of my family as living the Tao and living in the simplicity and connecting more with each other and nature and sitting on the floor and eating the colors of the rainbow and diving into the mystic knowledge and maybe even working in the psychedelic field if that's ever your calling. I still believe in the power of that in responsible and safe ways, and in different ways than a lot of people usually work with it. Because I know a lot of people work with it like in ceremonial spaces, and there's a lot of music and things like that. And I'm not saying that that's not great, but I find that being able to just have heartfelt connection and conversation is a very beautiful and healing process and very natural and organic. I know people do mushrooms and like cover their eyes and their ears and go inside, and I see that's beautiful and has its time as well, but that's also something you can do on your own. But to be able to explore in these ways is yeah, it's a beautiful way to open up the heart and open up the mind. And you know, to remove all the blockages in conversation and the judgments and the hiccups and the discomforts of having natural organic conversations in a world that is so technologied out, where you can like stuff and talk on your tech, but then when you see someone in person you don't even know how to say hi to them. So strange. That shit happens. So crazy. Not on my end, but you know, I observe and I witness this, so no judgment. Yeah. What else? The desire to know your true nature. When you can trace this huge insight in your life, all your desires begin to serve the one goal: to purify your inner nature in order to experience the higher frequencies of your greater self. This is the real ascension. This is the actual ascension process. This is the rapture, the purification of your lower nature, the purification of your lower astral body. This is the apocalypse. In Gene Key 22, it talks about the biological apocalypse. And it is the apocalypse in the cells, in the genes, as this new genetics turns on within yourself and you start to see and feel and remember and live differently. Eventually, from this space, from the ones that are hearing the call and feeling the call, and I feel like it's a little predetermined and all by design because that's just how our world works, that's how we'll start to see communities coming into space, you know, coming into gathering. Because I know there's a lot of ideas of community out there. I've also seen a lot that don't seem to work out very well. And so everyone's just figuring it out still, right? But when you can get really centered, when you can get into this accountability work, this shadow work, this emotional intelligence, it really brings you into the resonance field of some beautiful community. So I think I'm going to keep it. I think I'm just going to finish here, actually. Let me see if there's anything out of the 30 that I want to read to you. Mutated solar plexus carries awareness outside of the body into the aura. Right? So now this is part of the mutation of the solar plexus. It's the idea that, and I would call this cellular telepathy. You know, it's the idea that, you know, you're reading an entire field of energy with your whole body. right? Like when you come into a space, you can feel the energies. It's very psychic, it's very telepathic. And so that's moving from the mental plane of thought or even the idea of intuition. The role of the 30 is to burn out all desire in the DNA, the desire to end your own suffering, the desire to ascend one's or be free is the final great desire within any human being. The desire to ascend or escape or be free is the final great desire. Desire gets us to make mistakes so we can evolve. To master the experience, you have to taste all aspects, dark and light. Learn and evolve through experience. Immerse deep into the form. So see, we're not judging that we've gone down into the depths, into the darkness, that we've played in these little games. There's no such thing as failing. It's just when you're finally ready to bring yourself back into the lightness, to lighten up, well, then it'll take some devotion and some commitment, and it'll feel a little challenging in the beginning. But that ultimately it's a part of the path. This also has to do with the mutation in the endocrine system and the production of rarefied hormones within the brain and the chemistry of the pineal gland. I'm actually gonna North Node 2026 July. And today's 2/32. Let me see here. 2/32. Oh, spectral human. We're almost done with this wave. What do you say, Renee? Thank you. Flowing to some protection grid work where I live and then to a class. Oh, so fun. Have fun, Renee. Thanks for being with us. Nice to connect with you in Texas, my old homeland. Okay, I think I'm gonna go.
You're gonna go?
Yeah.
Where are you gonna
Oh,
go?
hi, you're back. I'm just going back to heaven like always.
Here I am.
What's going on? You want to share about your purification processes or anything before we go?
Yes, I would love to actually, because this is like perfect, especially about what I'm about to touch on is so relative to a lot of people, especially in our American diet life and things of that nature. And I want to share a little bit about the journey with my dad. So I heard you earlier in the bits and pieces that I could hear because I was on a consultation call for him with a holistic nurse that's going to be doing a biofield scan for him. And I heard you talking about, food and like addiction to food and all of these different things. And, my dad is actually a prime example of how we can cause our own disease through the food that we eat. And, he's someone that has been dealing with bad blood pressure since I've been born, basically. So 30 plus years almost. And he's been on pharmaceuticals for a long time, many pharmaceuticals. And then he's basically lost all of his teeth and he has deep tissue and neurological pain in his gums on the right side. And he's also had blood pressure issues. And he's also had a brain hemorrhage 2 years ago. And I've had to caregive for him and help get him back to being a being of capability in the last 2 years. And, all this stuff that's been going on, a lot of it has to do with his diet. And when it comes to purification, we think about the diet and why we should be purifying ourselves from the diet. Well, this right here is a prime example of what can happen from the causes of what we consume that bring toxicity as well as damage to our DNA and to our being. And he's been living in pain for a long time, a very long time. And doctors, dentists, orthopedics, they all can't find anything with his mouth, even though there's clearly something going on. So it's just been very intriguing to, really see this journey of suffering, this journey of pain, and seeing it being a catalyst of mainly the diet. It has helped me on my journey understand why I don't want to follow those steps. It's helped me really understand the importance of, the purification of our vessel and what can happen if we don't. And man, it's been a journey to witness. And it's also been filled with a lot of, um, anger and disappointment, upliftment, everything. Because it becomes difficult when, you really love someone and you have the knowledge and understanding of what it is that they're doing to their self, but they're not willing or ready to receive that truth. And that's one thing that I've really had to allow to become a lesson for me, that it's not my responsibility to heal others, and it's not my responsibility to save anyone either. Yes, I can hold space. Yes, I can share transmissions. Yes, I can share my heart and do things that could potentially help. But each of us had to be willing to change if we want to change. And that involves, breaking habits, breaking patterns, implementing new habits and patterns, and really coming to awareness of, is this causing decay and disease in my life? Or is this helping me feel good, healthy, and full of life to be able to want to create, have fun, be happy, and connect with others? And it's really put him in a space where he's been sheltering himself because of how much pain he's been in. And he is a very sociable person and he likes connecting. So, I share all this stuff because purification is important. And if we're not purifying, then that buildup inside of our system, whatever it may be, emotional, mental, physical, it can cause dis-ease within our being. And then, that disease that we have, if we don't address these things, what can happen? It can continue to snowball more and more. And it's I feel like it's one of those things where it's hard for some of us in this 3D life to really understand that, that everything isn't so black and white. And that, once you get to a certain depth of something, it's very it can be a little difficult to get out of that depth than just saying affirmations or just saying that we're one. And that's where we got to really be tangible about what we can really do as we go through these processes. And yeah, purification, man, purification. And it's really interesting too, because yesterday I went through a deep purification within myself. Um, I like went through a deep shamanic purge and I vomited like 7 or 8 times within a 3 hour window yesterday. And as I was vomiting, I could actually sense and intuitively feel the layers coming through and coming out I could hear the subconscious. I could hear the spirits that were being released, and it was quite deep. And it's really intriguing when we can dial in and kind of sense that the vessel is being used for a collective purging to be able to release energies that are, I guess, if you want to say, stuck within these realms and within our ancestry as well. Um, I know we've been moving through some big waves in this cosmic shift that we're in, but man, I could not emphasize how much important it is to purify ourselves right now. You know, purification of the thoughts and mind. Where are we focusing our mind? Are we continuing to go into hypotheticals about the future or what the past should have been or could have been? Or are we being present with our thoughts and present with our mind, present with our gifts, present with abundance, present with wholeness? And then the emotions, of course, purifying the emotions. Are we holding on to the residue of our past relationships and continuing to cycle into those energies? Are we holding on to needing to control the outside world? Or are we holding on to being codependent of the outside world? And what does that look like for us? And then the physical, the purification of the physical, lightening up the cells, lightening up the bloodstream. The cells, the bloodstream, it really allows that life force to be able to flow through us. And if we have blocked up and clogged up cells and blood flow, it can make it very difficult for that sophionic light body to be able to channel through this vessel. So just thinking about that, the mind, body, emotion purification and the reasons why and what can happen if we do purify and the things that can happen if we don't purify. And one thing, one way or another, life continues on and energy is going to keep moving. So what are we going to do with our free will? Yep, man. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because just a great example of purification and not to put my dad out there on Front Street, but it's a great example of what can happen with our vessel if we don't purify it in the right ways.
Well, thanks for sharing it. I know we all have been impacted by family members that maybe, are sick right now. And it's hard when you do know the truth. It's hard. I remember when my friend got diagnosed with a stage 4 pancreatic cancer all of a sudden, perfectly healthy, everything. I'm like, whoa. That was the first time it hit me. And I remember I started looking up like how to heal cancer without chemo or something. And it was just all about natural raw foods, natural raw foods, natural raw foods. And
Yep.
you're just like, I remember when I first was looking at this right before I came here to Costa Rica. So this was like 2018. And that still was so foreign and far out there and felt pretty hard for me to consider that somebody's just eating pure, raw, clean foods all day, every day. And I mean, now I'm pretty much living in that, but it's like we know the answers, but you can't
Mhm.
make someone. She had free will and she chose what she chose, and I watched her die quick, you know, and I'm sorry for it. And I think ever since then, her death led to my awakening in so many ways because there was just so much more. I mean, I created a garden to heal all cancer. I buried all my crystals and we plant plants, and like it was kind of my way of working with the white magic. I would always put things in the garden that heals all cancer, but really just realizing what's really going on in the cancer department or any disease or any illness, and that it's never too late. to start loving yourself, to start taking care of yourself, to start hearing and listening, and to have compassion and love, because you can't force anyone. You can't force anyone to do anything. You really can't. And you can notice by like the things I was speaking today, nobody can do it for you. Just here to activate, just here to invite the initiation of your own source, your own ability. You're the one climbing the mountain. Like, everyone's got to take the steps up the mountain. A med bed is not going to magically make all of this go away. I think that's one of the biggest psyops out there right now that's keeping people holding on. Like, well, when those med beds come, I'm just going to lay in it once and I'm going to be healed. And it's like, it's not like that. We are the med bed. We are the healer. We have to, and this is like, so I'm happy people
That
are
really
getting this
gets me.
revelation now. The more we talk about it, though, it's like, that's a pipe dream. That is a pipe dream. It's like, it starts right here, right now. It starts with all of us. Let's go. Let's do
It's
it.
that
Let's do it
seeking, you
together.
know?
Let's make this revolution. Huh?
It's a continuation of seeking outside of yourself. Like,
Mhm.
it's like I call this, oh man, I love talking about this, because I call this destination mindset. I feel like as humans, we get conditioned to do this thing where we treat things like a destination in the future. And we'll just go into a hypothetical and be like, well, like you said, once this med bed comes, then I'll be able to heal. Well, it's like, if you just let go of the future and became present, you could realize that there's all the tools around you and inside of you to heal right now. And up until the time that med beds come out, why not just be healed to where you don't need one?
It's that simple. You don't even know if they're ever coming out anyways. It's like,
Exactly.
really, that this, you making that decision that you've got the power, that you're not going to give your light body, that you're not going to give your life force to something else. And that is all disease actually is. Everyone is being fed on by parasites on all levels, not just little worms inside your digestive tract. Your phone's a parasite. I always say, if you called your phone a parasite, you wouldn't stroke it as much. You would not touch it as much. You would not hold on to it as much. It is, for the most part, draining people's energy and controlling their desires. I mean, I still see it when I'm scrolling through and a pizza pops up and I'm like, damn, that looks good. Like, I'm not into meat. Like, they could try to throw some chicken wings in my algorithm, but not interested. But you throw a little pizza in there, like, and so it's just like, you can really pay. And then we're just a battery for the machine. So we have to be aware of where we're giving our life force, where we're spending this energy. It's like, let's just say you had a bank account with $1 million in it, but instead of $1 million, I'm talking about like eternal life force energy, which is much more valuable than $1 million or money of any material measurement. And then it's like, okay, where are you spending this energy? What are you giving it to? And is it giving back to you, or is it depleting you? Is your bank account running out? And I'm talking about your body as a life force bank account. What is draining your energy? What is ripping you off? What is taking you? What's breaking you versus what is expanding you? What is activating that abundance? What is feeding you, fueling you, igniting you, lightening you up? We can start to really measure anything that we're doing in our lifestyle, anything we're watching, eating, whatever it is. Even you could say medicines or psychedelics, or I could just call them drugs. Everybody has their own opinion about it. You want to measure where you were before and after, over time, also, not just an instant gratification process, because I do believe that we can go through a little rewiring in a mental space on a psychedelic level that can change all of your patterns. They help you see things you couldn't see before, see through the veil. So yeah, this is an exciting time. It's not easy to be on the front lines of this, and this is not new information anyways, but it is like feeling like, I did an old video on YouTube years ago called A Choice Point of Life or Death. And it was talking about this again, and the importance of like, you've got to make the choice for yourself at any given moment you can. I know it's challenging when you get tangled up in the meds and the docs, but of course that's what they're going to recommend to you because that's their job. They're always going to recommend those options to you because that's their job. So I know people are expanding more to naturopath and homeopath, and maybe people are starting to look at fasting, and then most people can't even go there yet, but urine therapy is a whole nother world. And honestly, that's what I was thinking of with your father's gums, but I know you probably wouldn't even go there. It's just a generational thing too. It's like, I helped my grandmother get off her metformin. She had diabetes and we were just eating clean and like guiding her through that process. She got herself off of a few different meds for a few years. And then she went back into her comfort zones and things like that. And, but it was exciting to see how just through the change of her diet and her granddaughter calling her and a couple little supplements and sharing her story, next thing you know, she's going to the doctor and they're like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And like, oh, you don't need to take this. And then she's telling all her friends. And I was like, wow. But now we're in kids are taking pharmaceuticals now, right? And even having diabetes and different things like that. This is serious. And I give a fuck. It's time for us to take care of ourselves. We're the only ones that can do it. And I know it's not easy. I know it's even harder when you got stores everywhere and restaurants everywhere and you could just quick flip and order anything. It's not easy, but you can do all the meditations, all the practices, all the retreats, all of the blah, blah, blahs, all of the prayers and the breath work, real yoga, the real work is in the moment when you've got to face it. Am I going to go here or there? That's the real meditation. That's the real yoga. That's the real breath work. It's the only work that matters in that given moment when the shit hits the fan. You're like, am I going here or there? And sometimes like while you're learning the way, it's like, you might go down a path, but then you get back on course. And so there's no reason to beat yourself up when you fall down, you get back up kind of thing. But remember, you're the one, and you do have to have something that you want more than whatever that enticing thing is. There has to be a goal. There has to be I cringe at the idea of even saying goal. I'm not so good at the idea of I live in the now moment. So it's like goal, but yeah, I feel a responsibility as we're leading the way in this to really help others that are feeling the call to break these chains. And the only way that I had to put myself on the chopping block and really I thought I was all there and had done it all and was sitting in the pure field. And then it was like, oh, except for the things you want to pretend you don't see. And so we all do that. We all have things we pretend like we don't see them or that it's all good or that we overlook it. We get a little spiritual ego about it, whatever it is. There's always room for improvement. And yet with that, be gentle and easy with yourself. I know it's not easy these days, just making life happen for a lot of people. So.
Melody of the Free. We got a surprise
what
for
else
us.
you? Oh, tell me.
The 12-dimensional shield building technique. My declaration of intention is to serve my source. I commit to serve my highest power fully, completely, and totally. I am God. I am sovereign. I am free. Prepare for meditation. Visualize and feel your connection. Imagine a platinum 6-pointed star, the Star of David, in the center of your brain. As you move that 6-pointed star, your Merkaba star, down the center of your body, see it passing through each chakra and releasing from in between your legs. Send your six-pointed star to the center of the earth, to the Earth Star. As you connect your star with the Earth Star, feel unconditional love and unity for all. As you connect to the 12th dimensional platinum light, feel that light building momentum through your entire body. As you connect and fill up with the platinum energy, see your six-pointed star returning back to you, and let it stop at a position 12 inches beneath your feet. As you focus on your six-pointed star, it will start to spin. As it spins, it will build momentum and create a platform of platinum silver light. This is your 12th dimensional shield. As the shield strengthens, it will build an upward movement of a pillar of platinum white light. Allow that pillar of light to build to a position about 3.5 feet above your head. Feel and sense your entire body encased in the 12th dimensional platinum white light. Allow every cell and every pore of your body to be radiating in the platinum white light. As you focus again in that position, 12 inches beneath your feet, visualize your six-pointed Merkaba star. Now draw your Merkaba star up through the center column of your body, letting it pass through your chakra column and releasing out of the top of your head. Send your star to a position 3.5 feet above your head. As your Merkaba star again begins to spin, see it create a shield at the top of your 12th dimensional pillar of light. Feel yourself fully encased from top to bottom in your 12th dimensional platinum shield. Now multidimensionally ground your shield by focusing on your six-pointed star at the position 3.5 feet above your head. You now are going to send your Merkaba star out towards the cosmic heart of our universe, towards Andromeda. As you connect to the core of the universe, allow the crystal star to emanate its connection to you. As you feel protected and supported in your 12th dimensional pillar of light, say within your heart, "Thank you, God, and thank you, Ascension Guides. I am unity." And so it is.
Ashe.
Perfect way to close it down. Getting that mind body, light body awareness. Honestly, just remembering that everything is light, bringing it, form follows frequency. Bring everything that's going on in the form, get into your frequency field, read the frequencies, start to understand what is corrupt in the data of your frequency field to then create a different output in the form. And this is real quantum healing. Real quantum healing is like that. Oh, I've got a physical reality right now. It is proposing to me this and that and this. Let me go inside. Let me tune in and find where are the corrupted codes? Where are the things I haven't been able to see that my body is now having to tell me out loud because I couldn't touch them, you know? And then the building technique, anytime anyone reaches out to me for the first time, normally they've got some things going on. I recommend this very simple shield building technique of just turning on your light body. So thanks for sharing that, Marcus. That's from Lisa Renee. You can find it on YouTube online.
Lisa Renee, we're going to credit her for that one. Oh, man.
I have this song. I want you to say whatever else you might want to say too. And then I have this one little transmission like that I wrote a song about purification. I'll share it with you guys in a minute.
Oh,
And then we'll just
absolutely.
close it out.
I just want to say thank you, Phinix, for just helping build and be a part of co-create this beautiful container and being willing to share your expressions, your wisdom, your experiences, and to really just be able to help us all come into a deeper resonance and understanding of this universal connection that we are through these different Mayan wave spells, the gene keys. It's really appreciated. So thank you for what you do, and thank us for all that we are. And thank you all out there that have continued to show up, comment in these spaces, express love and energy, and help build this container to be a ripple in this dimension that we are in. And just remembering that, you know, we're creating a ripple right now in this moment, and all dimensions are connected to this. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks for making it happen. Yeah, and thank all of you who have been coming in and sharing, liking, commenting. I don't usually ask about that kind of stuff, but I'm not so good at self-promotion. But it is a passion of mine to just share what's coming through from my perspective. And my perspective is not always appreciated by everyone, but there are certain ones out there that are ready to hear it. And yeah, it's my honor to share. And actually, I've been doing these 3 days a week, Mondays and Fridays at 10:44 Eastern. And then we did a Wednesday one at this time, just to help people that maybe are more in the afternoon. But I was thinking if I don't get a lot of like activity, I might just reduce it down to 2 a week and do something more in person, like in my neighborhood, like in the physical community group. So I'm still like on the fence about that. Today I wasn't going to do a vid, and then we kind of last minute went into it. So yeah, let's, if you're liking it, if you're feeling it, let us know so this work is not falling on deaf ears. And reach out if you're wanting to do any additional one-on-one stuff. I do everything by cosmic donation. That's how I can keep doing this. And I learned from my friend the other day that reached out to me. She was like, wow, I want your guidance. I need your positivity. I need your wisdom. I need your help. And if I can help you feed your family for you helping me, that is so exciting for me. And I'm like, that is the only way that I work. I don't live a lavish lifestyle. Everything that we receive is for our basic needs. We live a very simple life. And so we appreciate that. And we want to open up those gates and just keep giving where we can and invite the giving where you can give. And so whether you want to do one-on-one work, or even if you just feel to give any kind of donation gift, that makes a tremendous difference in our lives. And we are forever grateful for that type of support and contribution. So yeah, with that being said, just to close out this purification topic, I'm going to share this little song, a little prayer song that came to me one day. It says, purify my mind, purify my soul. This is the way. This is the way. Love and acceptance, love and acceptance. This is the way. This is the way. Forgiveness, ooh, forgiveness. Ooh, this is the way. 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 Purify my mind, purify my soul. This is the way. This is the way. Love and acceptance, love and acceptance. This is the way. This is the way. Forgiveness, ooh, forgiveness, ooh. This is the way. 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 Thank you all. Thanks for doing the work. Thanks for being here on this planet. Thanks for being alive. Thanks for staying alive. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love to all of you. Have a beautiful day, and we'll be back on Friday at 8:44 Costa Rica time and 10:44 Eastern time. Much love.